I have zero doubt that lie is coming. You even got a date. People have been whispering a date for a long time now. I sent you 2 texts today with a year. Not from me.
You have?
Well, not a phone call. I would say I got a text message.
Okay, that said chill out?
No, the text message said that I got several phone calls from CIA concerning what you said about 2027.
There are a lot of people who are saying by 2027, some sort of UFO or alien information will be released that's going to change everything. Former CIA agents, UFO researchers, news reporters, and even Joe Rogan have all recently discussed that. We'll look at all those videos and see another government official say that this phenomenon is demonic, and we'll see exactly what is that big lie that's allegedly coming in 2027. The most recent claim that something is going down in 2027 has come from Ross Coulthart, a reporter from News Nation who covers a lot of the recent UFO and alien disclosure news.
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths.
No one really knows how this 2027 rumor started. One theory is that it will be the 80th anniversary of the Roswell incident, some people saying that an 80-year non-disclosure agreement will have expired at that time. Personally, I doubt that the US government has expiration dates on their NDAs. Again, it's hard to pinpoint where this rumor started, but it looks like maybe ex-CIA analyst John Ramirez may be the one who first blew the whistle or mentioned this. Later, we'll look at what John had to say about this phenomenon being demonic, but here he talks about 2027 and how the CIA told him that they did not like him mentioning that date to the public.
By extension, the world population, into that reality that there is a presence here, and that we need to explain this presence. Because if they show up and we continue to do what we did before in previous decades, and they show up, there will be mass panic. But if you understand that these are real, and we have 5 years from 2022, or maybe now 4 years, if they come in 2027, for the U.S. government to prepare the people about what is up there. And in many ways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
Since 2021, John Ramirez, who spent 25 years in the CIA, has been providing truthful insights into the UAPs that he learned in his career. He is a highly intelligent individual who has an immense amount of knowledge and experience regarding the U.S. intelligence apparatus and the UAP subject. He has made an impressive social media presence after he revealed many UAP-related mysteries that had never been discussed in public by any government official. CIA retired John Ramirez, who specialized in ballistic missile defense systems, worked for the CIA from 1984 to 2009, holding positions in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Directorate of Science and Technology, and the Directorate of Intelligence. He attained GS-15 grade, which indicates that he worked for the agency in a relatively senior capacity.
The president-elect has an opportunity to finally be the disclosure president before that magic year, 2027, which experiencers and channelers have talked about. We always hear about 26 or 27, those years.
Right, 2027.
And
yeah.
I would say this, the only time that I heard from CIA that they were concerned about something I said was with, I I think it was an interview where I mentioned something about the government knows about 2027.
I think it was Project Unity. There was another interview you did with him, Jay from Project Unity.
Short story is that CIA did not like me mentioning 2027.
Really? Oh, man.
John later had to clarify what he meant, and it appears he's trying to divert attention away from this and saying that he really doesn't know anything about 2027, maybe because of pressure from the CIA.
There's quite a bit of talk about this 2027 thing.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing like a really viral video, and I think we shared one on our Instagram. And I know there's some miscommunication about that or misunderstanding. Are you able to just sort of clarify what you meant by your comments of an event potentially or something happening in 2027?
Right. I don't know about any event. What I was clarifying was the channelers seem to say in unison that something is going to happen. Right. And to put it in perspective, that discussion occurred in September of 2022. I went to a SCIF in Washington, D.C., where that question was raised because the people in the SCIF mentioned it, as part of the conversation about, hey, we also, hear about 2027. What do you know about it? So that SCIF meeting was in the context of UAP and HI. And so that topic of 2027 came up in that context. So what do you know about it? I don't know anything about 2027. I've been reading that channelers have been talking about something occurring in the future, and 2022, 2027 was 5 years. And also Lou Elizondo in an interview this year. So in that interview, he said, get a hobby for 5 years and it'll all come out. So 2022 plus 5 is 2027. So I said, I don't know, maybe that's when, the government's going to plan to disclose something, or the channelers think some shift event is happening in our consciousness, or actual NHI will be landing. I don't know.
No one really knows what he meant by the channelers thing. There are a lot of public channelers who are saying stuff is going to go down by 2027, but the United States government, and specifically the CIA, have been heavily involved working with channelers, astral projectors, as well as remote viewers. Maybe he's referencing that. Now, I did find an article from 2002 saying that by 2027, we'll find alien life. That's the oldest story I could find on this date. The movies Captive State as well as Babylon AD both have some references to extraterrestrials, and they take place in 2027. But what is most strange to me is how many people involved in different capacities within the government are saying something about this date. Here's a quick compilation of some of those references, then we'll look at John Ramirez's statement on this phenomenon being demonic, and Jeremy Corbell's reference to the big lie coming in 2027.
You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them, and I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
2027 was mentioned at one time. I've heard other dates in the 30s. I don't know. I've got no idea. I have no leads that make me feel strongly that this is true. I think it's speculative.
I'm reading a lot of stuff that says, full contact in 2027. And there's all these people that used to work for NASA or all these other organizations out there talking about how our history as a species is really simply a...
Some may feel in the government the mere fact of acknowledging this, if there is some sort of malintent, may push up artificially a clock that exists somewhere for these things to say, okay, the foolish humans are now, the cat's out of the bag, they know we're here, we need to go in now.
I honestly, from what I've heard from very senior intelligence sources inside the so-called illegal operations, is that it's thought that it would not be able to go on beyond 2026.
Yes, there was an official effort by some people in the government to actually look at this data, and there were some products produced. That's a fact. I won't go into more detail than that, but it wasn't 2027.
They mentioned an agreement of some kind, in that there's a 50 to 70 year periodicity when that sort of a meeting takes place again. So we're in that time zone right now.
And is this the alleged countdown clock that we've been hearing about?
Yes, that's the one Ramirez and I and everybody else has talked about. We still don't know who originated it. But yeah, we all kind of tend to have fallen onto that time frame.
It's amazing to see everybody just claiming this every day now. It's 2026, 2027, that year. Something's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, in 2013, I was given that date by the lady about a future time that a new knowledge would come and the world would shift into a time of peace afterward, but not without trouble.
They say, how do you feel about a supposed impending event that is coming? Do you feel anxious, happy, excited? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, great question. Almost a trick question. Very, very clever. Very, very well worded. There's been a lot of talk about something happening. I am aware through certain channels of that same discussion. It may not necessarily be the exact dates that people are thinking right now. And quite frankly, we're not really quite sure what to think of it. Right now, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors going around. There is some discussion behind closed doors about maybe something occurring.
Jeremy Corbell, a UFO researcher, says that something big is coming in 2027, but that it will be a big lie.
I have zero doubt that lie is coming.
What is the lie?
So UFOs are real, and they've been here a long time, and that's the truth. But the lie is coming. All indications, like all of them, is that that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe.
I think this got a lot more people talking about 2027. Nick Pope, ex-military of defense employee for the British government, mentioned it, as well as Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll on a recent podcast.
Well, I think it's related. I've heard for some time, I've probably heard for the last 2 years, on and off, people talking about 2027. One or two people have said 2026, actually, but 2026, 27. I've heard these rumors for a couple of years. Now, the idea that the event is going to be the arrival of a ship, and the related concept that that's actually a false alien invasion or alien arrival is not something I'd heard until I heard Jeremy say this is going to be the fake story. Well, that leads to the question, if that's the fake story, what's the real story?
It's super hard to know who's who. And did you notice how recently, like a month ago sort of, there was this breaking story that set the whole UAP community on fire about this disclosure that I think Jeremy Corbell was coming out and whistleblowing on, if I remember correctly, that they were saying that they're gonna they're gonna trick us by saying that there's a mothership arriving in 3 years. Right?
Yeah, I did hear that.
And it becomes this thing where it's like, how do you know he's saying that he's exposing it, but how do you know if he's exposed? It's just like, it's the ultimate test of, are you skeptical enough and also open-minded enough and thoughtful enough?
So is the big alien deception coming in 2027? In my opinion, it's already here. Saying that aliens are demons is probably not the most biblically accurate explanation for this phenomenon. But what we do know is that principalities, powers, and spiritual wickedness are all spiritual forces that are at work in the world. The Bible really doesn't give a ton of descriptions on how these spiritual forces operate, but what we do know is that they do exist. The Bible tells us that these spiritual deceptions will increase as well as time goes on and we get closer to the return of Jesus Christ. What we do know about these evil spiritual forces is just that. They are evil, anti-human, anti-Jesus, and want to strike fear in people or physically harm them. This is exactly what we see all throughout the Bible with the demonic and fallen evil forces that come against humanity. It's the same thing we see with aliens and UFOs interacting with people as well. And for the testimonies of people who say they encounter supposed good aliens, well, the Bible tells us that Satan and his ministers can disguise themselves and masquerade as angels of light, leading people away from the truth of God and the Bible, and that's exactly what happens every time when people believe these supposed aliens. And high-ranking individuals within the government know and believe this as well. John D'Souza, the real-life X-Files guy who worked for the FBI on supernatural cases many times, said that he believes aliens are a demonic phenomenon. Lou Elizondo, a well-known UFO whistleblower, also said that someone at the Pentagon told him to stop looking into this stuff because it's demonic. John Ramirez also touched upon this topic when asked about it, saying that former Defense Intelligence Agency Director and senior military intelligence individual David Shedd believed this phenomenon was connected to an evil spiritual force and defunded a government program looking into this because of that.
I've never heard of anyone at CIA saying that aliens are demons. That came from the Pentagon. There was a high official. I'll say his name. I'll type his name out. You can research him. That's his name, David Shedd. You can write that down and research him. He actually believed that what we were dealing with was demonic, and he withdrew money from ALSAP.
Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll, when talking about this, also mentioned how it appears that there's a spiritual component that is definitely evident in this phenomenon.
Do you want to go the angle of like, what are the crafts, or do you want to go the bigger angle of like, what is the phenomenon?
Okay, let's start with what is the phenomenon.
I think that right now, science and religion and UAP exposure are all converging on similar truths. This consciousness field, this ether, this multidimensional thing, whatever. I suspect that's very similar to what UAPs are traversing in and out of and through. And I suspect that's very similar to what we identify as either the gods plural, the aliens plural that have these abilities we don't have,
angels,
as
and
well
demons.
as God singular, which is probably the highest up above all of those things. I suspect there's a version of all these things that are starting to converge on one truth, like demons. Sound very much like the UAP phenomenon to me, right? A lot of these religious beliefs sound very much like explainable, just with different wording, by UAP phenomenon. As in, some of these aliens, we seem to be being told that they communicate telepathically. They have energetic ability, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I'm suspecting that we're gonna be finding out that religion is like humans trying to interpret these phenomenon over millennia in all the human ways we would, and telling stories about them. And I'm not saying that God's not real. I'm saying God is real, and that does not diminish God at all.
There's obviously evil spiritual forces at work with this phenomenon, so why didn't God explain to us or warn us about exactly what this is? Well, because God gave us an even greater understanding. In Ephesians 6, when we're told that principalities, powers, and spiritual wickedness exist in the heavenly realms, first, in Ephesians chapter 1, God told us what we really need to know, that Jesus Christ has all authority over these forces, whereby we are protected if we believe in Jesus Christ as Lord, according to the working of his mighty power, which he worked in Christ when he raised him from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in that which is to come. There's no need to know about all the evil forces or how they work when you can know the one, Jesus Christ, who has the power to defeat them and to keep them out of your life. Jesus has defeated all evil by what he did coming to earth, enduring the cross, and rising again 3 days later in victory over sin and death and over all evil forces. Having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross.
Okay, we are cooked. Yeah, we are absolutely cooked, chat. GG.